Today, we will be discussing temporary alimony. Before we get started, I wanted to give you some information about our host, Heather Quick. Heather is the founder and owner of Florida Women's Law Group that advocates for women in North Florida. The firm educates and empowers women on the law so that they can find the strength to endure the process and come out better, both financially and emotionally. Heather's been a licensed Florida attorney for the last 20 years, with the majority of her practice being in family law. Please join me in welcoming Heather Quick to Family Law Friday.
Thank you so much, Betsy, and thank you all for tuning in. As you know, we have been talking about alimony for the past few weeks, and as I've stated before, I love talking about alimony. I love really diving into the numbers and the facts of your particular case to really help you understand how that will go. And part of that is I have found in my experience, so many years of litigating, that really on the issue of alimony, your attorney does matter. You need to really understand how you make a case for alimony or how you defend a case against alimony, and how understanding where you may end up. So I just it's quite, to me, a really great intellectual exercise to put the numbers together to build the case, and with the factors as well. So today I am going to talk about temporary alimony, and it is what it sounds like. It's temporary, but just kind of give you a little bit of an understanding as to some of the things that women generally ask us, and some important things to know as you're contemplating divorce, and also trying to understand how this is going to look for you, or you're getting temporary alimony. Well, what does this mean for the future alimony? So when you are getting ready, thinking about divorce, one of the very frequently asked questions is, how am I going to survive financially if he cuts me off? And that can be, if you don't work or if you do work, you both work, however it is, hey, to get the bills paid, it requires this much money. I've only got this much. So it's understanding that. Or you're paying all the bills and you're like, well, what do I have to give him? We'll talk about that too. So, those are really good questions. And you're going to want to know that. So when you file for divorce, there are some certain things that are filed in the court, and one of them is an order that states everything. This is paraphrasing, but basically states the status quo. So, the joint accounts, bills are paid, and at least 50% of the time, if somebody doesn't do it and, cut somebody off, and, bills don't get paid. Does that get rectified? It does, but it usually requires going to court. It just depends. So understanding an order comes out stating, hey, this is how you have to do. But not everybody follows that, and it doesn't give a specific amount necessarily. Just like it doesn't say, hey, somebody has to move out and somebody gets to stay in the house. None of that happens without a hearing. So in order to receive temporary alimony, in the jurisdictions here in Florida, before you can even get a hearing, you have to have your financial affidavit. So when you're like, oh, that's why the paralegal's been on my case, and the attorney said, you have to do this right away. We need to get it done. That's why, because they won't even set the hearing until it's filed. And that can be a big delay. So that is, it's high on our list to do, and we really help you with your financial affidavit, because one, it's under oath. So if you have left things out, intentionally left things out, and you're gonna look like a liar when you're in a hearing, because the other side, if they know what they're doing, they're gonna call you on those mistakes. So it's important, and that's what our paralegals are very trained and skilled in doing, because many people have not seen this. They're like, I don't know all these things, and we go through and really help you figure out, where we find this information and create your financial affidavit. A lot of times it is not, it's based on incomplete information because it needs to be filed quickly, and you may not have access to all the accounts. You may not have access to different pay stubs, or what the mortgage payment is. There's a lot of things that we do help you figure out for sure. And that's just important to know that we will probably file in your case at least 2, usually 3 financial affidavits, depending on how long it's pending, because things are going to change. Now, your temporary alimony is going to be based on your situation right now. So, in some cases, it may be more than maybe it eventually will be. In some cases, it may be less now than it will eventually be. That's just really important to understand, because I know when you're going through divorce, the stress of everything, you're looking for certainty. You just want to know. And, it's one of the most common answers that we as attorneys give sometimes is it depends. But right now, you're in a house for the whole family. Maybe the mortgage is a certain amount, electric bills, it's a larger house than maybe you are going to live in afterwards. I don't know. Those are, again, questions that evolve. But, that may or may not be an expense that will be the same, when we're at the stage of asking for permanent alimony or durational or whatever it is. So that may change. Now, what typically always does change is health insurance. If you are covered by an employer of your husband's, okay, now that's going to be a new cost. So your temporary alimony very well may be less than what is eventually ordered, because your expenses as a single person are going to change. Sometimes if you and your husband are business owners, the cars may be, through the business. That may not be a situation afterwards. There will be a lot of changes if you and your husband own a business, and many expenses are run through the business. So understand that is a number that probably will change, but that's obviously the name of it. It's temporary. It is based on a very short hearing, very short, limited, usually discovery, because it's rather new in the case, because this is just to get you through the next 9 to 12 months. And so that we have a court order on the support that he has got to pay you, as in for alimony, and then, what bills he'll pay from that, and then what other bills he'll pay. So it is for that short duration. It can be very, very important. In many cases, it's very necessary to set the tone. I mean, ladies, if I've heard it once, I have heard it hundreds of times. I'm not paying you alimony, and I can go to jail before we do that. Well, let's go see about that, and let's see a judge and see what they say. So yeah, it's important, especially if, maybe there's a potential for settlement, but if your husband sees no risk, no downside to going to court, that's not a great place to be. How do you negotiate with somebody who's like, I got nothing to lose? So it can be very important. Not in every case, but if you're here, if you've met with me before or had a case similar, you've heard me say that. And many women are like, I don't want to go to court. Well, I'm going to tell you, we're going to go to court, because that's why you hired us, to make sure you're supported and that you are getting your fair share legally, and that you're taking full advantage of what the law provides for you based on your facts and circumstances. Now, similarly, like I said, on temporary, if you are the breadwinner and you're just not sure how the temporary will work out, those are some of the things we got to look at. Well, are you all living there together? Are you not? Did he move out? What's his financial situation? What's he making? What are his expenses now? What will they be? We will have all of those discussions in our strategy sessions early on in our representation, so that we come up with a strategy based on the facts as they exist at the time of filing. Very often, things are going to be different as we approach mediation and trial. Not always, but they can be, and it's important to understand that things may change, and that's where we really try to help our clients understand, like, this is on a temporary basis, and it may not be a permanent number. So because it's based on, maybe we've only been in the case a month, they've only provided us limited financial documentation, So this is where we are now. And, you know, again, knowledge is power, and understanding this is a process that you will go through these different stages, I believe will help you have more confidence and a better understanding that it's not over till it's over, but it's not a sprint. And you really only want to sprint if it's going to put you in the better position. And most of the time you need to, you know, dot your I's, cross your T's. You need to have a good understanding of where you stand, and then you can settle, or, you know, then you're prepared for trial. So with temporary alimony, it is available. So, you know, for people who are under the impression, well, I'm just going to have to wait till till the end. That's not true. Now, you have to go to court and have a hearing, but there's nothing to be afraid of. That's what the court system is for, and that's what the judges do. They hear this stuff all the time. It's a very short hearing, like I said, and it's based on the information that's available at the time. And then the court makes a decision. And then, you know, the case proceeds forward. But again, I find it very, very helpful in many cases to have that opportunity to present some evidence, to have a decision made by either the hearing officer or the judge. It helps everybody see what kind of questions they asked, what they considered, and then you really can prepare yourself for, you know, what may happen eventually down the road in front of this judge. So for all those reasons, you know, when it's appropriate, we absolutely do have hearings on temporary relief and things such as temporary alimony. Sometimes we agree to it. It's, you know, it varies upon the case and the facts. And you know, like I said, I love talking about alimony. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not as simple as, you know, what he makes and how long you've been married. There's way more factors to it than that. And if you are contemplating divorce and have questions about alimony, you know, that's why I started this firm for women just like you. For, you know, if you're worried about what does this look like, I've built this great career, and, you know, let's talk it through and understand how the law applies to your particular case so that you can make an educated decision moving forward. And if that's you or someone you know, Betsy's going to tell you how to reach us, and we look forward to meeting you and helping you through this.
Thank you so much, Heather, and thank you to everyone who was able to join us today. We are here for you, whether you have a question about alimony, divorce, or any other family law issue. Please feel free to give us a call at 904-241-0012. Thanks for joining us today.